Hello, this is David, Father David from St. Andrew's Episcopal Church. This video is meant to be a short introduction for people wondering about what life is like at this church that I work at. So thanks for your curiosity in exploring different churches and for watching this video. If you wanted to encapsulate St. Andrew's in one phrase or a slogan, this is what we use. We are a place where God's flowers grow. So in God's flowers, they come in many varieties. And there are people here who, for instance, were raised in a church and many who were not. So our flowers, they come from all different religious backgrounds. For instance, if you were from a non-denominational background, we have this thing we call a liturgy. It's making the church kind of a structured service. Some folks really like that. It gives them a sense of comfort and grounding. But there's plenty of freedom to move around within those liturgical forms. And if you came from, say, a Roman Catholic background, this will seem very familiar to you. But we want this liturgy, this service we do, no matter what form it is, to really embody Spirit in some way. We hope Spirit shines through. And we never want our forms to be legalistic or too structured so that we're slaves to the liturgy itself. And if your frame of reference is like no religious background, or you're just searching or not quite sure what you want, you'll find this to be a safe place to try on different worldviews, experiment with different practices, and never be judged for anything that you say. And actually, you will fertilize, if you don't mind the metaphor, fertilize and encourage spiritual growth among the congregation. So whatever background you come from, you will see that we love the Bible. All sermons reflect the Bible and what it means for us today and our regular lives. However, we do not understand the Bible to be infallible or inerrant, or the literal words of God. We see it as the Word of God, but written in the words of men, human beings. And our flowers, they come from all different racial and national backgrounds and different ages. I guess you'd say we're pretty diverse. There are black folks and brown folks and white folks and tweeners. And there are folks from Africa and South America, people born in America and those born elsewhere. There are young kids who run or skip down the aisle, and older folks who use walkers, and handicapped people who use wheelchairs. Our flowers, they also come from different economic backgrounds. We run a food pantry at the church. Some of the folks sitting in the pews use the food pantry. And other folks sitting right next to them, they may have stock portfolios and they support the food pantry. And the flowers at this church, they come with all different kinds of relationships and different statuses. Like there are divorced singles, there are widowed singles, and just single singles. There are many families with kids galore and retired couples with empty nests. There are also people here from all across the gender spectrum and the sexual orientation spectrum. Yes, what that means is we are an LGBTQ-friendly church. And this is a safe place for everyone, and a place where everyone can serve and where everyone can find community. So, if our slogan is the place where God's flowers grow, then our ethos, our way of doing things, we symbolize in terms of like a flower pot. At the bottom of the pot, the foundation is our spirituality, and we break that up into two different sections. We tell what we call an essential story, and the rest of our curriculums we call the rest of the story. This essential story, this is where we try to discuss the big issues of life, who we are, what we're doing here, who is God, what's this life about, who is Jesus. We know it's a journey from cradle to grave as we explore those questions and become disciples of Christ. And at St. Andrews, we think that the end game of the story, the last chapter, is that we're all becoming like Jesus Christ with God's help. That means we are eager to love ourselves, and love others, and love this mystery of God. After we tell that essential story as the foundation of at least who I am as a priest, and I try to share that with the congregation, this is the baseline preparation for confirmation and baptism and personal growth and spiritual growth. Well, now, the second piece, the broader curriculum, we call the rest of the story. And it builds on the foundation of the first. And here we learn things about ourselves, and we try to teach life skills and the background of religion. So you might have a class on grief, or you might have a class on 12-step solutions to addictions, or we learn the New Testament, we study the Old Testament, we look at why we do this liturgy and the history of our own tribe, the Episcopal Church. But all those are electives that circle and encase and become the support for the essential story. All of our kids, our youth, our adults, we work with both those two curriculums, and the essential story, which is about 9 weeks, and then we hope that helps people grow personally, and then also practically as they personalize the electives and the opportunities offered in the rest of the story. So that's the foundation of the flower pot, the bottom. Side 2, I guess on the right side, we interpret Jesus as a deeply passionate person about this world and the people in this world. And he acts in service and in justice to meet the needs of people in this world. And we hope that makes us different than some folks who see this world as just every man for himself. And Jesus acts out what he called the kingdom of God based on love. We've tried to encapsulate and be more specific about, well, what does that mean that you love? Well, we try to love the earth and live sustainably. We try to love the poor and live equitably. We're seeking to love the stranger and the outsider and be more open, and love peace and reconciliation, live harmoniously. That's what we call the 4 loves. And people will try to do that on an individual basis, like serving the food pantry or other acts of kindness to individuals. Others will go more deeply into the systemic problems and the solutions in a corporate way of living, like social justice. These are the folks who want to, quote, change the world, make it a better place. But you will find here at this church opportunities to serve on both the private volunteer level in one of those 4 loves, and also imagine what's possible on the global scale if you'd like to do that. Finally, this third side of our flower pot that makes up the ethos of our church is that we like to be together, and we like to get together, and we like to share. This is the community. We want to connect outside of church, not just on Sunday mornings. And this community aspect is a huge support to our lives. There are lots of ways of making friends. Some people do it one way, some do it another. For instance, some like to do projects, and then in doing the project, could be from sweeping the floors to cooking in the kitchen to working in the yard or working on a budget. By working together, now you make friends. Other folks make friends by sharing their common hobbies or their passions. So people gather in small groups like sewing groups or walkers groups, game night groups. It's a whole set of those kinds of small groups at my church. Finally, others really appreciate the large gatherings, especially the meals. So we have at least 2 meals after church every month. Not to mention just crazy ones like Cinco de Mayo or the luau gathering or Christmas gatherings. And so one way or another, whether it's in tasks or you would say hobby groups or large group gatherings, there's a way to make friends at the church and to deepen our relationship with each other. So there you have it. As flowers of God, we are trying to grow in this flower pot of a church with a foundation of spiritual formation, opportunities for personal service and social activism, and supportive friendships. On a Sunday, if you visit the church, well, first you could do it online by going to our website. We broadcast at 8:30 and 11 o'clock. But if you visit it in person, you'll pass one building on the left, which is where all of our classrooms are held, our youth ministries and our children's ministries, and some adult classrooms as well. Walk up the sidewalk and you'll come to the front doors, and immediately on the right, you'll see a beautifully constructed and well-staffed nursery for our littlest children. And obviously an usher or a greeter will welcome you and show you how to get to the main church, which is through some big red doors. And they'll pass you a bulletin which has everything you need to comprehend and participate in the service. And through those red doors, that's the church proper. It's a beautiful church, stained glass windows, and a beautiful setting. Some people use it for their weddings if they like it. But when you get there, it'll be quiet enough to pray, but you'll also hear talkative people who are saying hello on Sunday morning, or maybe it's the choir warming up for their musical pieces. And there's two services in that building. One's the 8:30 service, which is a traditional organ and hymn music. We call it the Rite One liturgy. And that's generally for folks who want to get up a little earlier. And then there's the 11 o'clock service, which we call Rite Two. That's the one with a choir, and that's where the youth church, or the time when the church youth group meets, and also the children's church. Sometimes at that liturgy, at least once a month, there's a blended music with more instruments, guitars and drums and piano. Well, there's one more final service at 9:45, in between the two. It's for the people who don't really like church that much and they're not comfortable with that formal liturgy. It's a smaller group. It's like a house church, friendly small group where we read the Bible. We get to talk about it together, more interaction, especially with me. I'm the one who leads that service. And then we have communion around a table, like a kitchen table almost. And that's held in the Anderson Center at 9:45. And the music there is a single guitar. So maybe that's what you'd be interested in. I'm not sure. Well, thanks again for checking out this video. I'm sure your spiritual search and your curiosity will lead you to the right place and to the right church. You can check out our newsletters and our Facebook page. And you'll find at St. Andrew's then some spiritual formation, opportunities for outreach and service, and also friends and community. I hope you plant your life there like a seed or a flower that's already growing into the sacred, beautiful flower that you are. And again, this is Father David. I hope to see you soon at St. Andrew's, where God's flowers grow.